The Hedgehog. Great opening, interesting opening. Might have some theoretical problems today. We're going to look at that at a later video. Today we're just going to be inspired by seeing Viktor, the terrible Korchnoi, getting blown away in a classic Hedgehog game. It's against Andras Adorjan, the guy with black is okay, who seemed to be maybe a little bit crazy. Anyway, let's get on with it, and we will see the typical b5 and d5 counter moves for black. So we start out here, and this is a move order you can use as black if you're not afraid of e4, which is the Sicilian. But Korchnoi would never play e4. He was not an e4 player. And this marks that black is ready to play the hedgehog, and white accepts that, plays e3, and here it comes. This is the hedgehog setup. The hedgehog setup is because black's position looks kind of passive, but it has a lot of bite or quills, so you can easily get stung, as we will see in some of the games in this series. Here there are a lot of discussion about move orders. Black can basically play three moves. You can play bishop e7, which is the main line and is also the modern main line. There are some reasons for that. Then you can play a6, which is, I think, Super prefers that move. He wrote about that in a book about, and then you can play d6 like Adorjan does in this game. And I think a lot of players are afraid of rook e1, which you can meet by d5 if you play bishop e7, and that's supposed to equalize rather easily. But d6 is not a bad move. It's definitely possible, and it definitely marks that black is ready to play a pure hedgehog. Okay, a6, and this is the pawn setup in the hedgehog, and black will usually play something like this, and here put the queen on c7, connecting the rooks, and they might belong on e8, d8, c8, and so on. We don't know. The weak spots in the hedgehog are in general this pawn and this pawn, which can come under a lot of fire. Nowadays, white tries to sort of blow black away as fast as possible, not allowing him to set up a hedgehog. So the hedgehog is considered so strong that you don't really want to play against it. You want to stop it before it happens, and this is actually possible because it is rather slow, and black has made 8 moves, and 6 of them were pawn moves. So he is behind in development. Okay, rook into this file. This looks like a very natural move. Bishop here, and knight here to be able to take back with the knight on f6. And if something like knight a4, rook a b8 can cover the b pawn. Knight d2, and this is all part of something that is a bit annoying for black. White is simply ganging up on the pawns, and of course when there are not exchange a lot of pieces, it's kind of difficult to attack here, and queen c7. And here, well, you just need to know that knight takes d6 is possible, but after rook a d8, black is probably better, at least according to Adorjan. And it's not the kind of position. The pins on the d file is really annoying for white, and black will definitely get some compensation. Korchnoi just plays a natural move, putting the rooks here, and black plays rook here, and I think maybe the other rook is also possible, but it does make some sense, and he's probably more or less equalized already in this position. King d1, and this maybe it's possible, but after this move, white is asked what to do with the bishop, and black plays this way, take and take, and this position is already at least fine for black. He has no problems with the pawns, and there are some counter attack. And please notice that that's White's king side here. Oops, I don't know what I did that for. Uh, is rather weak. It doesn't look like something bad will happen just yet, but you could imagine something like a queen here and a knight on this square, and it will all be nasty. Also, the rooks might join, and black usually have a lot of counterplay against the c pawn, whereas in this position the d pawn and the b pawn are not weak. So white played like this here, and I think black is at least equal here, maybe even better. I would prefer to be black for sure. Yes, white has to sit and watch. Black might be trading d5, he might be trading b5, he might sometimes go with the h pawn. Oops, that was messing around here. I'll just get this pawn and so on. So there's a lot of ideas for black, and white is not having many ideas except pressurizing the d pawn. Queen b8, just getting out of the x-ray from the rook. Queen here and putting it here, looking at the white squares, and which is often important, eyeing this pawn, giving some extra ideas to b5. Here I think white should play a4, just stopping any kind of thing, but white still thinks he's better, I'm sure. So Korchnoi played e4. And this already is a bit dangerous for white, because in this position, black can show the potential in his position by playing a good aggressive move. What do black do here? And this is something, when you are white, you will have to be constantly worried about against the hedgehog, is that suddenly the whole situation explodes into your head. And this is what happens here, b5. And you say, what is that? We have all these guys going against this measly little pawn here. So what's going on? Of course, white does not want to allow black to take here, and we see that white's structure is weak. This king down here, this yellow guy, is in trouble probably sometimes. It's not a disaster yet, but white has to play careful because as I see with d5, and we see what black's idea was to open up and making this knight, for instance, if these two pawns were to disappear, then this knight would be very strong with the queen and the rooks, and there might be some uneasy moment for white's king. So e5 all looks very natural. Getting out of the way comes knight d7, attacking this pawn, and white could take this, but these pawns, I don't think they are that important compared to the potential attack black will have. Well, black will probably win those pawns back, and I think Adorjan had a very great sense of these things when he was at this top level. Queen e2 covering the pawn, and black is not really going to take back on b5 or something else. He's going to say, okay, I'm going to play dynamically all the way. So rook c5, attacking the pawn, but also getting sometimes ready for d4 and unleashing the rook here, but also getting ready for another thing here. And this shows that black's position is very dynamic. This pin on the knight could be extremely annoying. And after this, white is feeling the heat. This one is attacked twice, so he has to cover it. He could move it, but then white will take on black will take on b5. Something like this looks really bad. So instead goes queen e3, also, which I'm sure Korchnoi liked, making this diagonal closed, so there's no queen a7 check. The queen can go to b8 instead, attacking the pawn, and f4. And here comes the queen. And suddenly the pin works against poor white, who is having some issues here. And the thing is, after king g2, a takes, Korchnoi realized he's in trouble here because he probably wants to play this move, which looks kind of good, but after something like this, it's starting to feel real uncomfortable for black. The queen is hanging, and the king will have to go up. And I will probably play something like d4 and queen d7 check, and it will all be really nasty. So Korchnoi found another solution. He tried to run and get the king out of the way, hide it from checks and from counterplay. Looks smart, but black's pin here is still a really annoying thing. And by the way, I was very impressed by the way Adorjan played this game, just ignoring these pawns on the queen side and going for the dynamic solution every time. And here he just goes back, getting ready to exchange the queen after take. Black's this pin is really bad. If the knight moves, then black will get a extra pawn in the knight ending. So he played a5, but you can just take here, and this is all lost because the rook ending is really bad for white. Plays and b4, smart move. Winning a pawn, I think. And here, and of course Adorjan is up to the task, just matching the king. Take, rook c1, d4, king coming back, d3, moving forward, b7, and d2, calculating very well to the end. That's why he played king h7. So you had this one, and now the c pawn is too strong. And after this, white gave up. The c pawn is simply queening. There is no checks or of any kind of perpetual check. Black is simply too solid. So this was Adorjan blowing Viktor Korchnoi away with the hedgehog counter strikes like b5 and d5. If you like this, you're gonna love the next Adorjan game, which will be at a later GM Talks videos. Thank you for watching.